was assaulted last week and my wife accidentally helped. Last week my wife and I decided we wanted to hang out with someone after we'd had a drink and got a little high. The guy we invited over was someone that we had been trying to hook up with for almost 3 months, but because we were in the process of moving and dealing with health issues we ended up having to cancel on him multiple times. As a way to apologize for that we decided to invite him over this time, and we let him know before coming over that we wanted no intimate contact that night and that we just wanted to hang out, watch TV, and drink a bit. He assured us that he was completely cool with that and that we were already doing more than enough just for inviting him and cooking for him. I reminded him multiple times that intimacy was completely out of the question for us that night, and again he told us that he understood. We actually ended up having an awesome time, but unfortunately as the night went on, my wife and I got way too intoxicated and way too high to understand what was going on. Eventually my wife told us she had to go to bed and headed into our shared room. I was on one side of the couch while the guy we had invited over was on the other. As soon as my wife left, this guy's whole demeanor changed instantly. He began tapping his fingers on the couch like he was getting annoyed. He also started fidgeting and bouncing his leg while looking over at me a few times. Before I knew it, he had his way to me and started touching my shoulder, trying to grab at my sides, and played with my breasts. I was gone at this point and all of the physical contact had felt amazing, but my wife and I had a rule that there would be no intimate contact of any kind unless we were both in the room, so I pushed him off and told him I was going to check on her to see if she was feeling well enough to play around. I got to the bedroom and woke her up, telling her I needed help, and that this guy was getting really handsy. I also asked her if she was good to come out and mess around with him, to which she replied telling me she wasn't. So I stumbled back into the office that I'd left him and let him know that my wife wasn't in the mood and that he'd have to go home after whatever we were watching was over. As I was standing behind the couch to separate myself from him, I blinked and realized he wasn't there anymore. After blinking again, he grabs me hard and tosses me over onto the couch. The room is spinning at this point, and before I know it I'm sitting up and he's trying to kiss me. I pushed him off, but he slapped me hard in the face, dazing me. Before I could even react, his hands were around my throat and I couldn't breathe. My face felt like it was going to burst and I couldn't make a sound. He placed me on the floor and dropped his pants. I guess my wife had heard enough noises of my struggle against him coming from the office because she came running in. I was hoping she would notice how gone I was from all the alcohol and green we smoked, but she had no idea just how bad it was or what had happened before she came in. After a bit of time passed, they both moved me into the bedroom and started taking my clothes off. The room was spinning and I was so nauseous, upset, and confused that I couldn't handle it any longer and ended up passing out. My wife immediately kicked the guy out and he actually listened but complained that we'd given him blue balls. It wasn't until the next day that my wife found out what really happened. She was furious and really beat herself up for not being able to understand what was going on at the time it was happening, but I don't blame her in the slightest and I'm not mad or upset with her, especially given the circumstances. I don't think I have any right to be anyways. It was my fault for drinking and getting high. I'm also the one that invited him over and I didn't fight back enough to get the point across that something was wrong. I've been really depressed since then and I can't seem to stop crying. My wife feels really bad every time she finds me crying, and that makes me feel bad because it wasn't her fault. I feel like I'm overreacting, but I can't stop crying and I have no idea what to do anymore.